Okay, so think about this for a second. Every single night, you do something absolutely incredible. You basically shut off your conscious mind and just dive into this private universe that your brain builds from scratch. We call it dreaming, right? And, sometimes those dreams are amazing, sometimes they're just bizarre, but other times, man, they are terrifying. We've all had those moments, waking up, heart pounding, sweating, maybe you were falling or being chased. It's a universal human thing. And for as long as we've been around, we've been asking, why? Why do we even dream? And maybe the bigger question is, why do we have to put up with nightmares?
So let's really get into it, because this is where it gets interesting. What if we've been thinking about nightmares completely backwards? I mean, what if they're not a sign that something's wrong or just some random glitch in your brain? What if your absolute worst dreams are actually one of your brain's oldest, most advanced features, like a piece of finely tuned biological hardware that's doing exactly what it was designed to do? That's the wild idea we're going to unpack today, and it completely changes how we look at the whole purpose of dreaming.
You see, scientists have been arguing about this for, well, centuries. And for the longest time, the debate has basically been split into two big camps. It's kind of like a big showdown. In one corner, you've got the biologists, who see the brain as this complex machine. And in the other corner, you have the psychologists, who see the mind as this place of deep meaning and feeling. And honestly, their explanations for why we dream could not be more different.
So here's the core question, right? Are your dreams just meaningless noise, like a biological accident that happens when you're asleep? Or are they more like a nightly therapy session, a place where you work through your problems? Let's really break down these two big ideas, because figuring out why they don't quite work is how we get to what's really going on.
Okay, so Camp 1 has this idea called the activation synthesis hypothesis. Basically, they're saying that during deep REM sleep, the lower part of your brain just fires off all these random signals. Think of it like your brainstem is just sending up a bunch of static. Now, your higher brain, the smart part, can't stand randomness. It's a story-making machine. So it takes all that random noise, all those random images and feelings, and it scrambles to create a story out of it. So according to this theory, the dream itself doesn't mean anything. It's just your brain trying to make sense of chaos. Now, Camp 2 says no way. They argue the exact opposite. They think dreams are super meaningful. The idea here is that you use your dreams to sort through all the emotional stuff from your day. You had a stressful meeting at work, your brain's going to work on that while you sleep. It's your own personal, built-in therapist.
What's kind of wild is how dismissive that brain noise theory is. I mean, it basically says the dream you just had means nothing. The philosopher Owen Flanagan really spelled it out. He's saying that from a biological standpoint, the actual content of your dream, the story, who was in it, how you felt, it's all just an accident. It's what scientists call epiphenomenal. All that means is it's a side effect that doesn't actually do anything. Kind of like the heat coming off a light bulb. The heat isn't the point of the bulb, it just happens. That's what he's saying your dreams are, just along for the ride.
But what about the therapy idea? I mean, it feels right, doesn't it? It just makes sense that our brain would use all that downtime to work through stuff. But here's the huge problem. When scientists really try to prove it, the whole theory gets a little shaky. They've been trying for decades to show a direct link, to prove that dreaming about your problems actually causes you to feel better or solve them. And they can't. The evidence just isn't solid. Yeah, you might see a connection, but you can't prove that the dream is what's doing the healing. So there's no real hard proof that this built-in therapy is actually, working.
And that random noise idea? Well, it hits a major roadblock too, and it's one you've probably thought about yourself. I mean, if dreams are totally random, why aren't they just complete gibberish all the time? Why do so many of us have reoccurring dreams? The same one over and over? And why do they often have plots and characters that make sense within the dream? It just doesn't feel random. In fact, as we're about to see, what our brains choose to dream about is super selective. It's focused on some things and completely leaves out others. That's not random at all.
Okay, so this is the turning point. Both of these big theories have huge holes in them, and that suggests something really important. What if they're both wrong for the same reason? Think about it. Both theories try to explain your dreams based on your life today, your modern problems, your daily stress. But what if that's the mistake? What if the key to understanding our dreams isn't in the present at all? And this right here changes the whole game. To understand any part of our body, your heart, your lungs, whatever, you have to look at the environment where it evolved. And the brain is no exception. Our brains didn't spend millions of years evolving to deal with emails or traffic jams. No, they evolved to survive in a world where you could be attacked at any moment. Our modern world? It's just a tiny blip on the evolutionary radar. The bottom line is, we're all walking around with a Stone Age brain in our heads.
So looking at it from that evolutionary angle brings us to a third and way more powerful explanation for our dreams. It comes from a neuroscientist named Antti Revonsuo, and it's called the threat simulation hypothesis. And here's the core idea. The original purpose of dreaming has nothing to do with random brain static, and it's not about your bad day at the office. It's a training program. It's a built-in, super realistic virtual reality simulator designed for one thing: survival.
So get this. Every single night, your brain boots up this incredible simulation, and its only job is to throw you into dangerous, threatening situations so you can practice. And I don't mean just think about it. I mean, you feel it. You rehearse how you'd react, how to spot danger, when to run, when to fight. You practice the whole sequence. And the brilliant part? It's completely safe. It's a virtual world. You can get caught or fail 1,000 times in a dream, and every single time, your brain learns a little something that could save your actual life. It's exactly like a flight simulator for a pilot. It's a safe place to practice for the worst, so you're ready for the real thing.
Okay, that's a really cool idea, right? But just being a cool idea isn't enough in science. You need evidence. If this threat simulation thing is true, then we should be able to find proof. We'd expect to see that our dreams aren't random at all, that they're full of the kinds of dangers our ancient ancestors would have faced. And we should be able to literally see the brain's simulator switching on when we sleep. So, let's go find that evidence.
All right, let's start building the case for this theory. We're going to look at 3 big pieces of evidence. First, what our dreams always seem to leave out, which is a surprisingly big clue. Second, we'll look at what they're almost always about, especially when we're kids. And finally, we'll look at brain scans and some really unique medical cases that show us what the brain is actually doing when we dream. So first up, let's talk about what's not in our dreams. Think about your day. How many hours do you spend reading, or writing, or typing on a computer? A lot, right? But here's the crazy thing. Scientists who study thousands of dreams find that those activities almost never show up. This is huge. It proves that dreaming isn't just a replay of your day. If it was, we'd all be having nightmares about PowerPoint presentations. The fact that we don't shows that our brain is actively filtering what it dreams about, and it seems to be ignoring things that weren't important for ancient survival. Reading and writing? That's brand new technology to our Stone Age brain. The simulator just isn't interested.
Okay, so what does the simulator care about? Well, this is where the evidence gets pretty mind-blowing, especially when we look at kids. If you look at the dreams of little kids, say from age 2 to 6, their dream world is packed with ancient dangers. Wild animals, often aggressive ones, show up as characters like 25 to 30% of the time. That is way, way more than in adult dreams. Their dreams are all about being chased, fighting, or escaping. And here's the amazing part. This is true even for kids in big cities who've never even seen a wild animal outside of a zoo. It's like the simulator comes with preloaded scenarios, the greatest hits of what could have killed our ancestors, running on a loop before the kid even knows what those threats are.
And the brain scans, well, they really seal the deal. When scientists look at a brain during REM sleep, when you're dreaming, they see something very specific. The part of your brain that creates images is buzzing with activity, and the parts that handle emotion and fear, they are lit up like a Christmas tree, sometimes even more active than when you're awake. But at the exact same time, the logical, rational part of your brain, the bit that says, hey, calm down, this isn't real, is basically switched off. So think about what that means. You get intense visuals, intense fear, but zero logic to keep it in check. That is the perfect recipe for a simulation that feels 100% real and terrifying.
But maybe the most powerful evidence of all comes from people with a very rare condition called REM sleep behavior disorder. See, normally when you dream, your brain flips a switch that paralyzes your body. It's a safety feature, right? It stops you from running around and punching things in your sleep. But for people with this disorder, that switch is broken. They can physically act out their dreams. And what they do gives us a direct, unfiltered look at what the simulator is actually telling the body to do.
I mean, the stories are incredible. There's a famous case of a guy who actually held his wife in a headlock while running in place in bed, shouting that he was about to score a touchdown. And it's not just that. Doctors have seen patients leap out of bed to get away from an imaginary attacker, or run headfirst into a wall trying to escape a predator in their dream. And these aren't just random spasms. These are complex, coordinated movements. They are literally acting out the exact skills this theory says we're practicing. Fighting, running, dodging. Their bodies are physically running the simulation.
So here's how it all works, and it's actually pretty brilliant. For most of us, the process is exactly the same. Our bodies just don't move. When you dream you're running, the
The part of your brain that controls movement sends the exact same signals as if you were really running. That signal just gets blocked before it reaches your muscles. But, and this is the key, a copy of that run command gets sent to other parts of your brain. That copy lets you feel exactly what it's like to be running. It's how top athletes train, right? They mentally rehearse their performance, imagining every muscle movement. Well, your brain is doing that every single night, not to win a race, but to win at the game of survival. Okay, so we've got this ancient, high-tech simulation software running in our heads every night. But why? Why do we still have it? To really get why this system was so important, we have to take a trip back in time. We need to understand just how dangerous and brutal the world of our ancestors actually was.
Seriously, just forget everything you know about our modern, safe world. For almost all of human history, life was incredibly short and incredibly dangerous. The average person was lucky to live into their 20s. Something like 70% of people died before they even had a chance to have kids. Every single day was a roll of the dice. You had predators hunting you, other humans fighting you, snakes, diseases, starvation. Everything was trying to kill you. Survival was not guaranteed. It was a constant fight.
Now, put yourself in that world. Imagine having a secret weapon that gave you hours of extra practice every single night, rehearsing how to survive. Think about it. Even a tiny advantage, being 1% faster at dodging an attack or spotting a predator a split second earlier. That tiny edge could easily be the difference between life and death, between passing on your genes and not. This simulator wasn't some luxury feature. It was a massive evolutionary advantage. It was a lifesaver.
And that brings us all the way back to your nightmares. Because when you look at it through this lens, a nightmare isn't a brain malfunction at all. It's the simulator kicking into high gear. It's your brain running its most important, high-intensity training programs. It's a stress test for the absolute worst things it can imagine, so if anything like that ever happens, you're not going in cold. So yeah, your nightmare is a feature, not a bug. In a weird way, it's one of the most powerful tools your brain has to keep you safe.
So the next time a nightmare wakes you up, heart pounding, before you shake it off, just stop for a second. Instead of thinking, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Ask a different question. Ask, what was my brain just trying to teach me? What was the scenario? What skill was I practicing? You might find that your nightmares stop being so scary. They might start to feel like a message from your oldest, toughest self, your own personal survival trainer working the night shift, just for you.